Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Classic Books with Rashad Mitchell live on my YouTube channel. Let's get into the Bible study time. First Chronicles, chapter 1, 2, and 3. Let's get to genealogies. Chapter 1. And verse 1 says, Adam, Seth, Enosh, Kenan, Meha, Lalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. I read past, let me read the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right, the genealogy, the inclusion of genealogy in this book serves several purposes. Like all of First Chronicles, the genealogy serves to reconnect the returned exiles with their ancestry and their redemptive past, thus enabling them to recover a sense of their roots and heritage. The genealogies revealed how God chose and preserved a remnant for himself from the beginning of human history to the post-exilic present. The genealogy's immediate objective was to help Israelite families resettle the land according to previous family ownership, and to mark clearly the tribe of Levi from which the priests were to come. Their ultimate objective was to trace the descendants of the family line through which God would bring salvation to the world. God had chosen Abraham, and from Abraham another family, Israel, and from Israel's family, the tribe of Judah, from which came the Davidic line. When from the family of David, God promised that the Messianic son would come, who would bring redemption from Satan and sin. Adam, Seth, and Enosh. That means that these names are taken from Genesis chapter 5, verse 1 through 32. It shows that the chronicler believed Genesis' first chapters to be reliable history, not legend. All right, chapter 2. These were the sons of Israel: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. Sons of Israel. That means in chapter 1, the author of Chronicles listed the descendants from Adam to Abraham to Israel through the sons of Israel, i.e. Jacob came the chosen people through whom God had determined to bless all peoples on earth. In chapters 2 to 8, the author traces the genealogies of Israel's 12 sons. Judah's genealogy is placed first among the tribes because the mainstream of redemptive history flowed through it, and particularly through David and his descendants to the Messiah. In verse number 5, it reads, the sons of Perez, Hezron, and Hamel. The sons of the genealogies are selective, choosing only certain descendants. Phrase the son of can also mean the descendant of, thus some sons or generations may be omitted. Chapter 3, in verse 1, it reads, these were the sons of David, born to him in Hebron. The firstborn was Amnon, the son of Ahinoam of Jezreel. The second, Daniel, the son of Abigail of Carmel. Sons of David, that means the author gives special attention to David's descendants. It was from the family of David that God had promised to bring the Messianic king to rule God's people. The author wants to show that although David's kingdom had been destroyed, his descendants lived on, and thus God could and would fulfill his promises. But I'm going to keep it moving. I'm going to keep reading more chapters. I want to get more people into the live chat, get people to tune into this live feed. So I'm going to keep going with chapter 4, verse 10. And it reads, Jabez cried out to the God of Israel, oh, that you will bless me and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me and keep me from harm, so that I will be free from pain. And God granted his request. Jabez cried out to the God of Israel. That means that the righteous example of Jabez stresses the truth that God blesses those who faithfully call on him. Note that Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. Jabez's life and prayer demonstrated how God delights to bless those who call upon him in faith and earnestly seek his favor. The chronicler point of view is well expressed in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 20. Have faith in the Lord your God, and you will be upheld. Jabez's four-part prayer as a model for all believers. He earnestly desired God's favor and blessing. He petitioned God to enlarge his territory. He asked that God's hand, meaning his presence and power, would be with him in all spheres of life. of his life. And he asked God to help keep him from evil or harm so that he would not be a cause of pain to God himself or others. God heard Jabez's prayer and granted his request. We can be assured that this is a prayer that God delights to answer. I see one person is watching. I want to see more people watching, hopefully. Chapter 5, verse 25 and 26. Got two people watching. Jennifer Adams, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Got Ram Kumar. All right, Jennifer Adams, thanks for tuning in. We're doing my Bible study time tonight. Verse 25 and 26, chapter 5 of First Chronicles. Thanks for tuning in. But they were unfaithful to the God of their fathers and prostituted themselves to the gods of the peoples of the land whom God had destroyed before them. So the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, that is Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, who took the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh into exile. He took them to Halah, Habar, Hara, and the river of Gozan, where they are to this day. So we're going to chapter 6, verse 1. The sons of Levi, Goshen, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Levi, chapter 6 gives the descendants of Levi the line of the high priest down to the captivity and lists the Levitical cities. The sons of Levi have been chosen by God for spiritual service in the tabernacle and the temple. So in effect, this chapter points to the importance of true worship according to God's instruction. In verse 32, they ministered with music before the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, until Solomon built the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem. They performed their duties according to the regulations laid down for them. Minister with music, worshiping God. Song is a form of ministry to him, and something with which he is well pleased. Music is one way to express our love, and affection, and adoration, faith, hope, praise, joy to God. Hello, Kristen, Agent 96. Thanks for tuning in. Doing my Bible study right now. Bible study time. Reading from First Chronicles. I'm in chapter 6, verse 32. That's what I'm doing right now. 6 people watching. Thank you. As I continue on this journey through the Life and Spirit Study Bible. 6 people are watching. Right, good. Thank you. Hit the like button. If you're a first time watching this show, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. See, Salik Bashor said, where are you from? From Patterson, New Jersey. That's where I'm from, Patterson, New Jersey. But again, whoever's watching, if you're the first timer on this channel, hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it. All right, we're just going to go to chapter 9, verse 1. It reads, all Israel was listed in the genealogies recorded in the book of the kings of Israel. All Israel, chapter 9, is concerned with the community of God's people. All Israel after their return from exile in Babylon, emphasizing their continuity with Israel before the exile. This first verse gives the reason for their captivity, while the rest of the chapter deals with the priests, Levites, temple servants, whom God appointed to restore the true order of worship that had been lost during the captivity. Chapter 10, verse 1 says, now the Philistines fought against Israel. The Israelites fled before them, and many fell slain on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines fought against Israel. That means that with chapter 10, the writer begins a historical summary of Israel's past, starting with the monarchical era. In this chapter, he states the reason for the rejection of Saul and the transfer of the kingdom to God, to David. The remaining events in this book deal with the history of David and the enduring significance of his reign. Right, chapter 11, verse 1. All Israel came together to David at Hebron and said, we are your own flesh and blood. Chapter 11 begins with David's story. 2 Samuel chapter 2 to 5 tells more fully just how David became king over Judah and then over all Israel. I think it's chapter 2 all the way to chapter 5. I don't think it's verse 3, 4, and 5. But anyway, a comparison with the parallel accounts in 2nd century makes it apparent that the writer of Chronicles omits most of the difficulties David experienced, along with his personal, moral failures, and shame. These omissions can coincide with the writer's twofold purpose to emphasize those historical events that were important to God's purpose in salvation history, and to encourage the disheartened post-exilic community that was resettling in its homeland. The same purpose is reflected in the author's focus on Solomon's building of the temple and his omission of Solomon's apostasy and idolatry as described in 1 Kings chapter 11. All of Israel came together. That means that the first 7 years of David's reign as king at Hebron over 2 tribes are assumed, but not described. The narrative begins with David becoming king over all Israel. Right, verse 5 reads, So to David said to David, you will not get in here. Nevertheless, David captured the fortress of Zion, the city of David. Fortress of Zion. What does this mean? It means that Zion was one of the hills on which Jerusalem stood. It was formerly the site of a Jebusite fortress that David had captured. The hill became sacred when David brought the Ark of the Covenant to Zion. Later, the name Zion was applied to the city of Jerusalem, the nation of Judah, and heaven itself. In verse 41, it reads, Uriah the Hittite, Zabad, son of Ila. Uriah the Hittite. That means that Uriah is listed as one of the mighty men who faithfully gave David's kingship strong support. Yet David took this warrior's wife for himself and had Uriah murdered. David's sin left ugly scars and consequences for himself and his family and all Israel. This sin is alluded to the first chapter of the New Testament. All right, next I'm going to get into the city of Jerusalem. Again, whoever tuned in, just hit the like button. I don't see no like button being hit, but you can subscribe to the channel if you want. Or that'd be deeply appreciated. Right now I'm going to break down the city of Jerusalem. Because that'll be it for tonight's show. Then I'll resume with chapter 12 tomorrow. Right, here's the city of Jerusalem. Here's the history of the city of Jerusalem. The first reference to the city of Jerusalem is probably Genesis chapter 14, verse 18, where Melchizedek is listed as the king of Salem. When the Israelites were ready to cross over the Jordan to enter the promised land, the city then was called the Jebusite city, or Jebus. It was never captured during Joshua's conquest of the land of Canaan. It remained in the hands of the Canaanites until David became king. David's army stormed Jebus and took possession of it, and David made it his capital city. Jerusalem served as the political capital of Israel's during the United Kingdom and later of the southern kingdom of Judah. Solomon, David's successor, built the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem, so that the city also became the spiritual center for the worship of the covenant God. Because of Judah's long-standing sin, including idolatry, Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon besieged the city in 588 BC. And in 586, eventually destroyed it along with its temple. Jerusalem remained a pile of rubble until the Jews returned in 536 BC from Persia to rebuild both the temple and the city. By New Testament times, Jerusalem had once again become the city of Jerusalem, Jewish political and religious life. In AD 70, however, after frequent rebellion by the Jews against the Roman authorities, the city and its temple were once again destroyed. Thanks for hitting the like button. Again, subscribe to the channel. You're first time liking this channel, this video. You can subscribe to the channel. By New Testament times, Jerusalem had once again become the center of Jewish political and religious life. In AD 70, however, after frequent rebellion by the Jews against the Roman authorities, the city and its temple were once again destroyed. When David made Jerusalem his capital city about 1000 BC, it began to take on various other names in keeping with its character, names such as Zion, the city of David, the holy city, the city of God, the city of the great king, the city of righteousness, the faithful city, the city of the Lord is there, the city of truth. Some of these names are prophetic names for the future city of God, or the heavenly Jerusalem. The meaning of Jerusalem for the Israelites. The city of Jerusalem had special meaning for God's people in the Old Testament. When God reviewed his law with the Israelites on the border of Canaan, he prophesied through Moses that at some point in the future he would choose a place to which to put his name. This place was to be the city of Jerusalem, where the temple of the living God was erected. Thus it received the names of the holy city, the city of God, and the city of the Lord. 3 times a year, all the Israelites' males were expected to travel to Jerusalem to appear before the Lord, your God, at the place he will choose, at the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Tabernacles. Jerusalem was the city where God revealed his word to his people. That is, it was the valley of vision. Furthermore, it was the place where God ruled over his people, Israel. Thus, when the Israelites prayed, they were instructed to pray toward the city. The mountains surrounding Jerusalem symbolized the Lord surrounding his people in eternal steadfastness. In essence, therefore, Jerusalem was a symbol of all that God wanted for his people. Whenever God's people were in Jerusalem, they were to remember God's ruling power, his holiness, his faithfulness to his people, and his eternal commitment to be their God. So when God's people lost their relationship with him by their constant idolatry and refused to obey his commands, the Lord allowed the Babylonians to destroy Jerusalem along with the temple by allowing this long-standing symbol of his constant presence among them to be destroyed. God was signifying that he himself was withdrawn from his people. Note that God's promise of an everlasting covenant with his people was always conditioned on their obedience to his covenant provisions. Thus God was warning his people then and now that they must remain faithful to him, obey his law if they want to continue to receive his blessings and promises. And lastly, the meaning of Jerusalem for the Christian church. The city of Jerusalem was also significant in the beginnings of the Christian church. Jerusalem was the birthplace of Christianity. It was there that Jesus Christ was crucified and rose from the dead. It was also in Jerusalem that the exalted Jesus Christ poured out the Holy Spirit on his disciples at Pentecost. From that city, the gospel message of Jesus Christ spread to the ends of the earth. The church in Jerusalem was the mother church of all churches, the home church of the apostles. When controversy occurred over whether the Gentiles who believed in Jesus had to be circumcised, Jerusalem was the city where the first major church council convened to decide this issue. New Testament writers accepted much of the Old Testament significance of Jerusalem, but changed its application from the earthly city to a heavenly city. In other words, to them, Jerusalem as a holy city was no longer here on earth, but in heaven, where God dwells in Christ. Jesus Christ rules at his right hand. From there, he sends his blessings. From there, Jesus will return. Paul speaks about the Jerusalem that is above. New Testament writers accepted much of the Old Testament significance of Jerusalem, but changed its application from the earthly city to a heavenly city. In other words, to Jerusalem, as the holy city was no longer here on earth, but in heaven, where God dwells, and Christ rules at his right hand. From there, he sends his blessings, and from there, Jesus will return. Paul speaks about the Jerusalem that is above, who is our mother. The other author to the Hebrews indicates that in coming to Jesus Christ for salvation, believers have come out to not to an earthly mountain, but to Mount Zion, to the earth heavenly Jerusalem, the city of the living God. And instead of preparing the city on earth for believers, God is busy preparing the new Jerusalem, which will someday come down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. On that great day, God's covenant promises will be fully realized. Now the dwelling of God is with men. He will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. God and the Lamb will reign forever and ever on their throne in this holy city. Does this earthly city of Jerusalem still have a future role in God's millennial kingdom? Isaiah points to new heavens and new earth, and then notes with emphasis, but the present Jerusalem will have its fulfillment. The remainder of Isaiah chapter 65 deals with millennial conditions. Many believe that when Christ returns, Jesus Christ returns to establish his millennial rule, he will set up his throne in the city of Jerusalem. And the great white throne judgment The heavenly Jerusalem will descend to the new earth and become the headquarters. Become the headquarters of God's eternal kingdom. Right, so that's it. I'm done. I'll be in chapter 12 tomorrow. Went past what I usually will go past, but I want to get people to tune into this live feed and get people to like it. Shout out to whoever it may concern that like the video, the live feed, and people that tune in. So that's it. I'll be back later at 9 o'clock sharp. I'll be talking about the Florida State, Miami memories from myself. You know, I'm a Hurricane fan. I love the Miami Hurricanes football team program since 1989. And I'm going to reflect on my history watching the Hurricanes play and the best moments, the matchups that stood out to me along the way as they play each other this coming Saturday. So renew the rivalry. So I want to get into that later on at 9 o'clock. So thanks for those who tuning in. Next time be in this Life the Spirit Study Bible will be chapter 12, chapter 13, and 14, and so forth and so forth. I will be more chapters. So that's it for the today's live stream. Be back tomorrow. But later on at 9 o'clock, stay tuned. I'll be back in 2 hours to talk about my memories of Florida State, Miami. Memories and the matchups that I remember vividly. I want to get into that. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a great one. Until then, have a good night. And talk to you later. Whoever listen to this live feed, I'll be back at 9 o'clock. Hit the like button. Again, subscribe to the channel. Until then, talk to you later.